I'm plagued by insomnia, compelled to share in hopes of finding solace through expression. Dr. Kirsch advises me to pen down my thoughts, to unburden my mind. Perhaps this act of writing will serve as a cathartic release. What title befits this therapeutic endeavor? Reflections. Seated in a compact, pristine chamber, surrounded by computer terminals arranged like a classroom, I find myself in the Sleep Health Centers, just beyond the borders of Boston. Posters adorned with medical insights line the walls, portraying contented faces, though they appear eerily lifeless, mere semblances of humanity. This institution caters to those afflicted with sleep disorders. The effects of Esopicolone leave me in a hazy stupor, so forgive any disjointedness in my writing. Clarity will return with sobriety. The doctor prescribes a bout of writing therapy. He claims that repetitive tasks can assuage insomnia. Under normal circumstances, the monotony of this room and the rhythmic clatter of keystrokes might lull me into slumber. But these are not normal circumstances. It's not that sleep eludes me, rather, I avoid it. Though I drift off intermittently, the specter of dreaming haunts me. If only I could dictate the contents of my dreams, I'd gladly surrender to sleep until October. Alas, control eludes me. Ever since May, ever since Tom. That accursed dwelling on Black Pond Road. The mere thought of it sends shivers down my spine. The act of committing it to writing dredges up vivid recollections. I loathe to revisit the ordeal. Yet Dr. Kirsch, my amiable physician, with his gentle demeanor and perpetual smile, suggests that documenting the experience might emancipate me from its clutches, as if some psychological shackle binds me, inflicting relentless torment. Guilt. I was as much a casualty as Tom. Tom, a comrade from my college days. We were both students at BU. I recall encountering him late one night on a bench, seeking refuge from my loquacious roommate. Tom offered me a cigarette, and we spent hours conversing about the quirks of our respective roommates. From that moment, we became inseparable. Even after graduation, we remained steadfast allies, sharing a bond that transcended time and distance. We both secured jobs in the city, residing in close proximity to each other in Somerville. What was the occasion? Yes, it was May. Friday the 13th, to be precise. Tom reached out to me after work and inquired, "Any plans for the weekend?" I replied, "Nothing much." He then asked, "Could you assist me in clearing out a house?" Playfully, I retorted, "Who are we pilfering?" To which he solemnly responded, "My deceased aunt." I quipped, "Friends aid in moving, but true companions assist in relocating bodies." He sighed, "Regrettably, someone has already taken care of the body, but there's plenty of other belongings to dispose of before the house can be sold." Later that evening, Tom picked me up, and as we drove, we reveled in music on the radio, indulged in meals, and relaxed, traversing the roads endlessly. Amidst our journey, I inquired, "How did she pass away?" "She took her own life." "My condolences." "Don't bother, she was mentally unstable." "I'm certain she cared for you, nonetheless." "Doubtful. However, she did adore her brother, who coincidentally is my father. Since they reside in Washington now, I volunteered to handle a house clearance." "What a dutiful son." "Well, I am compensated for my efforts." I comprehend. I contribute labor while you reap the rewards. You benefit from my delightful company during a weekend in this decrepit abode. I suppose that's preferable to my initial plans. Black Pond Road, a rather ominous appellation. The house appeared on the brink of collapse. It comprised a single level, featuring a spacious living area adjoining a diminutive kitchen and 2 small bedrooms. The bathroom resembled little more than a cupboard. Adjacent to the structure lay a screened porch, offering views of the surrounding woods. We arrived past 1 a.m. I suggested we spend the night in the car as a precaution against the house's potential collapse. Tom, however, retrieved a flashlight, and we proceeded inside with our sleeping gear and backpacks. I felt the floor shift beneath me. Despite the darkness, when Tom illuminated the interior, I could have sworn the floor moved momentarily. Damn that floor. The kitchen, with its greasy, stained white tiles, exuded an aura of neglect. Every surface bore signs of grease and stains, even the windows, which cast a sickly yellow hue in the flashlight's glow. Was that clicking? No, tapping. It defies description, but the sensation upon entering was akin to intruding upon a lively gathering, whereupon all conversation halts, and every eye turns toward the newcomers, almost like a faint echo of a sound, as if 100 fingernails were tapping on a tabletop before silence descended. "Did you hear that?" I inquired. "No," came the reply. "We ought to have slept in the car." My quarters resembled a confinement cell, linked to the main living area. Tom's room, accessible solely via the screened porch, awaited. Upon inspection, I suggested a swap. "If I'm not receiving payment, I should at least have the more agreeable room," I suggested. "You don't want this room. It's where she ended her life," Tom cautioned. We stood in silence. "My room feels like it's missing prison bars," I remarked. "That's for your escape when her spirit seeks us out," Tom jested. "A ghost wouldn't linger in this dismal place." I proceeded to unfurl my sleeping bag on the petite bed, then settled in the darkness. After a period of silence, I began to discern a noise, chittering and buzzing. "Damn mosquitoes," I concluded. I covered myself entirely with the sleeping bag, hoping to ward off any intruders. If only I hadn't been so fatigued. A sharp sting between my fingers startled me awake. Pain surged through my legs, akin to numerous needle pricks. My feet felt as though immersed in beach sand, the squishiness disconcerting. In my fluster, I tumbled from the bed, grazing my chin against an unknown object. Amidst my distress, I noticed a minuscule bug bite between my fingers and a multitude of marks peppering my legs. Hundreds of bites. As I inspected my sleeping bag, a horde of earwigs and house centipedes wriggled forth, akin to a living tide. The sight churned my stomach, and I fled the room, slamming the door behind me. Morning had arrived. Venturing onto the porch, I roused Tom from his slumber. "Get up. You need to vacate your sleeping bag," I urgently insisted. "Dude, what time is it?" He groggily mumbled. "It's morning, and you need to exit that infernal bag." Mine was teeming with bugs. "I'm covered in bites. Get out of that accursed thing." "My stomach's killing me. Just hold on a sec." No bugs infested his damn bedroll. I nearly resented him for it. Then he grumbled again about his stomach, lifting his shirt to reveal swollen marks along his waistline. "What the hell, man? We're not spending the night in this place, buddy. Look at my legs." My bites weren't swollen, but the itch was unbearable. I refused to take my bedroll home. No way I was keeping it after witnessing that bug exodus. Burn it. Burn the whole damn house. Burn it. That's my nightmare. I'm trapped in that blasted bag, unable to escape, while earwigs and centipedes swarm over my feet, legs creeping into my clothes, crawling over my chest, neck, and arms, slithering towards my face. I can't scream, fearing they'll invade my mouth. No matter how hard I struggle, the bag won't yield, and they keep coming. I can't dream that anymore. I spent a week convincing myself it was just a nightmare, but I know they crawled over me. They must have, as they infiltrated the warmth and darkness of my bag. Maybe I wouldn't dream it if Tom hadn't. I'm losing focus. Tom's room was bug-free. He handed me his car keys, and I dashed to town to buy cortisone for his bites. Upon my return, Tom was outside, flashlight in hand, inspecting beneath the porch. "Come check this out," I obliged. Peering beneath the porch, I saw it, a gray mass resembling crusted mud. "That's a hive," Tom confirmed. It felt like I'd reached the apex of a roller coaster, hurtling toward the ground. "It's enormous. Words couldn't capture the magnitude." It sprawled across the underside of the house, stretching into the darkness. Though motionless, I spotted numerous openings, We're out of here. No kidding, we were leaving. I yearned to be home. I waited as Tom applied the cream I'd bought, realizing now they weren't just bites but stings. The insect activity in that house was unnatural, I swear. I ended up driving us back. Tom endured terrible cramps. Awful cramps. He eventually succumbed to the pain, curling up in the backseat. I pulled over at a rest stop and insisted on examining the marks, but the swelling had subsided. Yet he endured piercing gut pains. I urged him to seek medical attention, feeling the same need myself. Dan bites covered my legs. Your parents need to torch that cursed house. Believe me, I'll see to it. I had the bites inspected on Sunday. I was unscathed. However, that night, I was haunted by my first nightmare, trapped in that bag, consumed by earwigs and centipedes. I tried reaching Tom, but he remained elusive. On Monday, his voice sounded distant, preoccupied. Had he informed his parents about the house? Negative. Taking Wednesday off, I visited him. No response. Upon entering, I found him on the couch, fixated on the distant wall. He looked drained, his complexion devoid of vigor. Neglected dishes tainted the air. He seemed oblivious to my presence. Tom, we need to see a doctor. I'm fine now, thanks. His detachment was palpable. I doubted he even registered my words. You're not well, Tom. This isn't normal. I'll get you some clothes, and we're heading to the hospital. Oh God, I lost sight of him. This is my doing. Forgive me, Tom. When I returned, he had vanished, his door left ajar. I scoured the surroundings to no avail, spending hours on his doorstep before heading home in despair. Returning after work on Thursday, his door was shut tight. No response to my buzz. His cell phone redirected to voicemail. I was at a loss. The recurring nightmare and sleep deprivation clouded my judgment. I should have alerted the authorities, but exhaustion overcame me, and I drifted into sleep on the couch, plagued by visions of the bag. Upon awakening, the bites seemed to resurface on my legs. Friday, a week since that dreadful day. I trudged through the day like a shell. My supervisor insisted I leave. Fatigue led me astray, wandering from Davis Square to Alewife without a thought. The stroll afforded me clarity, prompting a call to Tom's parents upon my return. He did sound off when he called last night. He called you. Did he mention the house? Well, I assume that was a jest. No, sir, you must have that place demolished. Demolished? No, he didn't mention that. He joked about residing there. Honestly, I don't believe that was Tom. I don't believe he was in command at that moment, and whatever held sway intended to return him to the house to dwell there. Poor Tom. I returned to his abode that afternoon and gained entry again. His door stood unlocked, yet he was absent. A note lay on his fridge. You could discern his distress. It was challenging to decipher. It read, I can sense them wriggling inside me. I can't halt it. I don't wish to go. Farewell. My comrade Tom took his own life that weekend. They discovered his remains in Cambridge, a self-inflicted gunshot wound to the head. Just a lifeless form in an alley with a fatal opening in its head. I hadn't a clue he possessed a firearm. The authorities found no evidence of foul play, but they conducted an autopsy due to his appearance suggestive of drug use. When I extended my sympathies to his parents, I inquired if drugs were found. They disclosed that the coroner had unearthed numerous sizable wasp larvae inhabiting him. Oh God! They had been subsisting on him internally, burrowing through his flesh. I implored his parents to incinerate that house to the ground. I yearned to suggest they desecrate the ashes. I longed to desecrate the ashes. I'm unsure of their actions. It may persist there, teeming with vitality. The ground shifted. The house claimed Tom's life. The insects, and I'm unable to slumber. I'm ensnared in a bag, and they're infiltrating my orifices, my mouth, my nose, my ears. They traverse my skin, consuming me. I don't feel solace. I simply yearn to forget. How do I share this ordeal? I cannot endure this room any longer.